Oh, hello. Uh, so, um, Gonna work on the KnifeBricker comic here in a minute. I think you'll be able to see what I'm doing. I'm using the light box, so it needs to be relatively dark in here while I'm doing that. But yeah, so let's get to it. All right. So I can't move too much now because, as you may have just heard, Bushy, my cat, is laying on my foot. And what kind of monster would I be if I moved while a kitty cat is sleeping on my foot? So I've got the light box already on. I have the drawing, the sketch underneath. I taped the comic book card stock over top. I lined it up already, which is good because I actually messed it up the first time. I have my blue pencil. Nope. Technically that is a blue pencil, but not the right one. I have my non-photographable pencil here, and then I'm actually not going to need this one, so I'll put that away. And then my softer leaded fellow, which will be step number 2. And I am working on the last panel of the KnifeBricker comic, and God, I just want to be done with it. This project's gone on for I think a little over a year now, and it's 6 pages long. But all right, going dark. Okay, so start here in the corner. I'll move up a little bit so you can see what shenanigans I'm up to. I'm definitely gonna knock that light over real soon. So for those of you who watched my previous stream where I talked about being real bummed that I can't do art for my living, that I have a normal 9 to 5, and then because of that I decided to, on my weekend off, do like a dry run of that and see what that's like, where I wake up and I'm my own boss and I hold myself responsible to like whatever it is that I want to get done. And I did pretty well yesterday, I want to say. I got 90% of the Derazzled podcast on the Wild Wild West edited. And what else did I do last night? There was some other stuff, but I just can't remember. But I plan on yesterday kind of being it for that jolly experiment. What am I drawing here? Multiple hair levels. Okay. God, the sunlight is coming like straight onto this. I'm in the basement. It's the only light in the entire basement. I'm like, this is the one spot I don't need you. Like the light box, as you can see, it's pretty basic. It's just a panel, nothing fancy. So it does the job, just not super well. Yeah, well, I'll figure it out when I do the pencil sketching. But woke up today and I was like, I'm just gonna sit around and play some video games. But first, I'm gonna finish editing the Derazzle podcast. And then I started working on that, and then I don't know why. I probably should have mentioned this before we got started, but like I apologize if I lose connection here, because my internet on like all of the devices has been really crappy today. Say apologies for that if that's a thing. Just give me a moment. My brain's farting. Yeah, there we go. I'll do that. Look at that. And this. Okay. Cool. Anyway. So I was like, yeah, I'll do a little bit of editing on the podcast episode, and then I'll play video games or something relaxing. Maybe I'll do a load of laundry or dishes. And, I did. But then the internet was slow, so I was like, I might as well hop over here and work on American Curse, the feature that I've been slowly putting together with primarily the work of Mr. Scott, Portland Scott. And then 6 hours, 7 hours later, I'm still doing stuff. I'm okay with. Tomorrow when I'm at work, having not had a weekend off for realsies, might be a little less thrilled about that, but what you gonna do? It is going to be nice to have gotten a bunch of stuff caught up. Move my hand up here a little bit so you can see what the fuck's going on. Good afternoon, sir. Hello, Crimson Verse. Thank you for joining the blinding light of God. My drawing session. Yeah, my afternoon's been pretty okay. So sorry, yours was primarily standing around at work. Yes, that's a tongue. What the fuck am I even drawing here? No, that's a tongue. This light. It doesn't help that this drawing, this panel, is by far the largest in the entire comic. So it doesn't, like, normally it would fit really nicely in here, and it does not do that. So we are making do. Yeah, I didn't want to take too long commenting on the existential process of seeing what it's like to live full-time as an artist and also trying to survive with a working man's job. Mostly because I've been doing a lot of like therapy-esque talk, not intentionally, just because that's who I am in my background. But I don't got anything to say today in that area, mostly because my brain's burnt out. So yeah, it's I'm just gonna. So I have this app that you keep track of the movies that you've watched in your entire flippin' lifetime, and because I am who I am, I'm like, hell yeah, that's just the kind of mindless activity I need to be able to stare off into space. Yes. Crimson Verse was having some issues streaming on Twitch, not last night, but the night before. What was the issue? Aaron, secret superfan / essentially permanent second, third guest host. So I just, I see a movie and then I enter the information into the app and it's like, you did it. You saw the movie. and you can also put like how you saw it or where you saw it, and give it a rating. But for this month, I think I'm up to 9 films thus far, which is that's normally what I end the month with. Is 9. Sometimes I, especially in the colder months, it'll be 12, 15 movies. I tend to watch more movies than I do TV. So last night I checked out Fear Street. Was it last night? Yes, yeah, it was Fear Street on Netflix, and it was all right. It's okay. I see. Yeah, I understand getting futzed with the settings. I mean, what was it last night? I couldn't figure out how to make it just the two of us playing. So we get to hang around. We were playing like Zombie War 4 or something like that. I can't remember. It's like a zombie sniping game. And we ended up hanging out with Mr. Purple, Mr. Purple, and Johnny 11. These are not their actual names, but because I'm dyslexic, that's how I read them. But yeah, it's fine. They did the thing mostly. So like, Fear Street was cool. In that it played a lot of the tropes, right? Like small town, where just like bad stuff happens all the ding dang time. Follows a bunch of teenage high schoolers as they try to not get murdered to death. And you have like teenage flirtation and that sort of thing. Well, it's not your fault then, Aaron. It's PlayStation's. My issue with the movie was that it set up a really cool premise, but it didn't really do, like, once it set up the premise, it didn't really do anything with it or anything original beyond that. The general premise, and I'll keep away from spoilers. The general premise is that there's this town called Shadyside, which is weird, that lives beside a kind of like a twin town called Sunnyvale, and bad stuff just happens in Shadyside all the time, right? So they have the cool thing is that they have all the genres. They have like serial killers, they have like slasher, they have like creepy witchy stuff. But they have a plot device that brings all of those spookies to the town of Shadyside all at once. The movie takes place in 1994, which, yeah, and like, yeah, it's fun. The weird thing is that the premise felt kind of juvenile, or not the premise, but like the filming style felt kind of juvenile. Like it was like soft horror. And then you start getting to the kills, and you're like, no, this is not soft horror. That was awful. I'm sorry I was eating dinner while I saw that. So yeah, it's kind of like if you're sitting and watching Stranger Things, and then like Will got his face like cheese grated, and you're like, what? I felt safe in nostalgia. Now I don't. Where's my pencil sharpener? That said, it is the first part of a trilogy, and from what I see, it gets better.
I was never a fan of Goosebumps. So Fear Street is based on a set of novels. I'm not sure if they're YA or if they're like more adult oriented horror novels, but they're written by R.L. Stine of Goosebumps fame, which is not something I have nostalgia for because I was not allowed to watch them growing up. Which is hilarious because my little sister, much younger than myself, basically grew up on all of the horror that I was not allowed to watch.
What is this old man doing? Oh, okay. Shit.
Of course, you're like right in the middle of the page. Another thing I liked about Fear Street was because it's playing with a lot of the tropes of horror, specifically like
YA horror type stuff.
You're prepared for like most of the people to survive, right? Like you know the type of people that will survive, and it's just like nah, you're wrong, and I like that. Like very rarely do I actually see a person bite it in a horror movie, and I'm like, oh man, I like that person. Damn it.
But that happens like twice in Fear Street 1994.
So unless you are like a diehard horror fan and you kind of like know the genre, because I feel like if you know the genre, you'll be able to recognize the references a little bit more.
Not even references, just the style.
Yeah, give it a watch.
Um,
I say that, but also
I want to see what the second movie holds. Like if it's actually worth the watching of the first one. But what else did I see this month? I saw
Black Widow in theaters
a couple days ago.
It was, god damn it. I'm just gonna start
Pre-breaking the tip.
It was alright. It was a movie. It wasn't my favorite. It wasn't my least favorite Marvel film, that is. It did some Marvel movieing. It would have had more impact if it was made, years ago when people were clamoring for it. But
I'm fine with. I'm glad they made it.
Mostly because,
and I'm definitely gonna say her name wrong. But Florence Pogh,
P-O-G-H. She's great. She was super fun. She plays Black Widow's kind of sort of little sister. Again, I won't give anything away to that film either. But I saw, I'm just going to say Florence, so I don't keep messing up her name, but I saw Florence, my bud Florence, in Midsommar, which is not an easy movie to act in, I assume, but she did it and she crushed it. But she is, yeah, she's good. She's great. She was able to handle the comedy of this with the drama. There were scenes where I'm like, yo, you're kind of out acting Scarlett Johansson, the movie, the movie who this movie is for, which is not you, but her. But that's kind of cool.
I was talking to Belinda about how there's,
This isn't shitting on them. The Marvel movies are like summer movies, like blockbuster type movies. They are like a step above quality wise as far as like performance and the way they're filmed, but they're still like summer blockbuster movies. But there's a handful of actors that didn't get that memo, and they're just like acting the shit out of their scenes, which is great. And Tom Hiddleston's one, he who plays Loki, and the other one's like is Florence. What's her face? Who I'm like, you're the subtlety in your acting isn't necessary, because like it's a summer movie and subtlety is not really a thing that they do, but I appreciate it. I appreciate you, Florence.
this is possibly the part of drawing that I like the very least. I can like kind of sort of see the thing I have previously drawn, but I'm tracing the thing I've already drawn
and doing like a not a great job of it. It's like you have something in your eye and you can kind of see what's in front of you, but me.
I actually look up the name of this movie because I don't want to mess it up. It airs Man Bites Dog. So I was
It was like earlier in the month. I was looking for a movie that had a little bit more substance to it.
So HBO Max has quite a few
movies from the Criterion Collection on it, which, how do I summarize that? So the Criterion Collection, it is a collection from an organization of
films that they think are culturally important,
either to a society or to the arts. They also find and restore films that otherwise would have been lost to the sands of time. And yeah. So even if I don't like a movie that they have restored and are selling, I can still appreciate it. I can still like, that was an experience unlike the one I would normally have watching a bad movie. But
so I watched Man Bites Dog solely based on the cover, because I'm like, it's a black and white cover with a kind of noir looking fella with a gun. It had nothing to do with any of those, but there was a man with a gun.
So like I kind of rate whatever I've seen in the past month, and so far, and I hate this, I haven't watched a movie that's beat Man Bites Dog. And the reason I hate it is because it is not a movie I can recommend to people. It is one of the harder movies I've sat through. It's upsetting. It sticks with you. So the premise of Man Bites Dog is
It's filmed in a documentary style.
I want to say it's German. I could be wrong. It's either like, because it's kind of like student film quality, as far as like film stock,
and the way it's shot, it's a little harder to pin down the era that was filmed in. I'm gonna say the early 90s, but I also have this like computer in my hand that I could easily look at, and it would tell me. 92. Thank you, miniature computer. Gotta. So it's about this documentary crew that are following this serial killer, and it's like a found footage film in that you're watching the footage that they're shooting, and the serial killer, whose name I can't remember, directly addresses the camera, right? So it's not quite like The Office, but I need to sharpen that again. The reason the movie is upsetting is because the first half hour or so, they frame it as a dark comedy, right? I'm trying to think of one of the scenes. Like he specifically goes after mailmen, and like they cut to him like fighting this mailman, and the mailman just like trouses him, like it just like takes the shit out of our protagonist. And the crew just like kind of hangs out and watches him get his ass whooped, and stuff like that. And you meet his family, and there's like super nice little German family that like run a shop. And his like mom loves him to death, and his dad's kind of like a crabby old fella. It's great. And maybe like 40 minutes in, it starts to get a little rough. Like it's a serial killer, right? So like the one of the things that happens is he dumps his bodies in a canal or what have you, and they float down to wherever canals go. Well, there's like a dry season, and the bodies have all been exposed, and it's gross because that's what happens. And he makes the film crew bury the bodies. He doesn't like force them at gunpoint. He just has like such an unnerving personality that like, well, you're not going to argue with him if he's like, oh, duh. And he stands at the top of the bridge and supervises. And again, it's funny, but it's also like you're seeing these mutilated corpses that have spent months in water. It's not how you should store your corpses if you don't know already. I guess that's what I'm drawing. God. Oh no! Oh, right, yeah. I'm gonna draw her neck. I forgot to draw that guy's head, just like his face. So from there, it escalates further. He starts to get a little out of control in something that like is overly relatable. He starts telling the camera crew how to do their job. It's just like nothing is, from that point on, he's completely unlikable in my opinion. Right there. Right there. Nice. Well, welcome back, Crimson Verse. Maybe I was talking earlier about how my internet has also been not so great today. So maybe it's just the entire area. So I've been talking about the movie I watched called Man Bites Dog. Yeah, there's a particularly violent crime where a family is taken out, and normally in an American film, you
wouldn't see the murder of a child, but you sure do in this film. It's not like it's gruesome in the sense that it's shot like a documentary, so the kind of fourth wall that you can only have, where you're like, this is a movie. I'm watching a movie that is not real. You lose that a little bit. And then there's another scene after that that's even worse. Like, I won't go into it, but anyway, it it stuck with me. Like the movie stuck with me. I keep like thinking about it, like how it was shot and like how it manipulates the audience into. I don't think it's one of those ones where you start to side with the villain. It doesn't go quite that far, but you enjoy hearing him be like a goofball, weird ass, and even his like murder humor is kind of funny at the beginning. I'll just read Aaron's note verbatim. On a lighter note, compared to the movie you're talking about, I like your seal and penguin overlay. Lol. Thanks, Aaron. I wanted to hide John Travolta, so I was looking for different overlays, and I found this one with a penguin and a seal. Think about everything in that corner. Oh, almost forgot the writing crop. How dare I? So after I watched that film, I like the same night I'm like, well, that's not the last thing I'll be watching before I go to bed. I don't care that it's 11 p.m. My brain is now rotten. So I went and watched a Goofy movie. A Goofy movie? The Goofy movie? With Goofy and his son Max going on vacation. And it was a it was a very good palate cleanser. I don't have any nostalgia around the film, so I didn't think it was like, oh, this is like the coolest movie ever. But it was enjoyable. Oh gosh, what else did I watch this month? Oh man, I watched Bo Burnham's Inside. Finally, the comedy special he has on Netflix. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was funny and uncomfortable and relatable. And I know I've said this to a couple of my friends, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of those movies that is still referenced years and years later. I think specifically I said, like, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a Criterion collection of this movie. But then I found out that apparently that's not a term that everybody uses. So a culturally important film is what I'm saying. Snake Tamer? Feels like a God Tamer. Maybe not. Alright, we got this all covered. And alright, looks like we're gonna draw KnifeBricker's flag. So for those of you who haven't seen it, Inside, the Bo Burnham comedy special was shot solely by him in his house during the COVID pandemic lockdown. And it is fascinating to see him. It's raw, right? Like, so like you still get the comedy stuff that like, so he's a lot of his music or his comedy's derived from songs that he's written. He's that sort of comedian. You still have that, but then you also have these kind of like monologues, not unlike what I find myself doing, where he's talking to a camera and ranting about how he feels about things, specifically his mental state, which I gotta say I'm a little bit worried after watching that, because it felt very real. But he's a little younger than I am. He spoke very accurately about how I personally feel about the millennial strife and such bullshit. Good luck counting, Aaron. Count that money. I'm not a sexy boy. Gotta make sure I draw that knife brick well. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through all this tonight. I am kind of tired. This setup for drawing down here kind of sucks. What am I drawing again? Dots. Well, humans have 5 fingers, but I only see 3. What was I drawing? Nah, Jack of a later day will figure it out. My cat just let me know that it's time for salmon. Almost on the dot. She's fed salmon at 7 o'clock. 6:58. Momentarily bushy. I want to draw until I can't draw anymore. I think that's gonna have to be that for KnifeBricker. I'd like to at least get this like mosh pit finished, so that because these are more intricately drawn, and if I need to have a steady hand, it would be nice to have a steady hand on these 2 things. This stuff is, as they say. I watched the newest Gundam movie, which I won't talk about because I don't think anybody who's not a Gundam fan will give a single shit, which is fair. But it was very good for those who do care. I lied. I'm going to talk about it. The thing I liked most about it's called Gundam Hathaway. I forget what it is. It's based on Hathaway's. Oh man, brain shutting down. Anyway, it's called Hathaway, which is the son of an earlier character. But you have these, you have the robots doing the fightings as Gundam. That's their thing. But you also have like space politics and like the destruction of youth because humans suck. But while you're having these conversations, because there's a lot more conversation in this than there is robot fighting. There's a lot of the camera focusing away from the action. You have 2 characters talking, and the camera stays on their drink and like ice melting in the drink. Even as the conversation has shifted to the next scene, it'll stay on that kind of stuff. Kind of what I call like haiku scenery. Which sometimes is meh, but they did a really good job with it. Okay, so there's 3 other movies I watched. I watched Gotham by Gaslight, which is a straight to DVD, Blu-ray, whatever Batman movie, animated Batman movie. It was good. I'm not a huge fan of the animated Batman movies, but I needed to watch something that was not going to
tax my brain, and it did that.
I read the book it's written on years ago, probably in high school, and being unimpressed with the story, but really enjoying the art. I want to say it was drawn by Mike Mignola, but I don't know. But they changed some things around in the story that really worked for me. They changed who the villain is. So it's about Batman kind of chasing Jack the Ripper through Gotham during. I want to say there's like a no. I was going to say it was like a World's Fair, but I'm getting my serial killers mixed up, as you do. And they boost the supporting cast to be more interesting. They include more of the established DC characters, so you get to see like this universe's version of the Robins and the Catwomans, which again, it's been a long time since I've read the book, but I don't think you get that as much in the original. I know. And then I watched Safety Last, which is a silent film. Partially because I've been watching a lot of Charlie Chaplin, and I wanted to see how the rest of the stars of the silent age, who did like physical comedy, how they measured up. And this wasn't bad, but I gotta be honest, I saw this at the beginning of the month, and I can't even really tell you what it's about. I think fella moves to the big city, promises girlfriend he'll make the monies so that they can live happily because capitalism, and then shenanigans ensue. Oh, the famous image you may have seen from it is a fella in like a, I forget what it's called, not a strawberry hat, but kind of like a
Circus Barker's hat almost,
hanging from a building with the city beneath him. That's this movie. I just preferred Charlie. And then the last movie, and the only movie, I think the only movie on there that
is a rewatch, right? That might be a lie.
The only movie on there that I'm watching again, because the rest of them I only, that was the first time I've seen them, was Fantastic Planet, which is an animated movie from the 70s, French movie, kind of experimental art film, which I really enjoyed the first time, and seeing it again, I still enjoy it. But it's like it's that kind of sci-fi where it's incredibly bizarre, but also commentary on the human existence. I was trying to think of like what to call the animation style earlier, but I don't know because it's not. I mean, maybe it is traditional hand drawn, but if it is, they do it funky, and it kind of looks a little bit like the style of like early South Park, or where they took their influence, the Monty Python Flying Circus animated bits. But it's too smooth. Like it's still the animation's still janky. Like it's, but it's not that janky. But it's about this world where these very tall, bald blue creatures. They look kind of like fish-esque. See humans as essentially cockroaches,
like literal pests that need to be sprayed so they don't contaminate your home. But there are also domesticated humans that the blue peoples keep as pets. And we follow one of the just the tone of this film. It starts with these children. I think it's children. You see this woman and her child that's being tormented by a child, and I think the child like flicks her, much like a bug, and essentially kills her. But then takes the baby and raises it as one of these domesticated humans. Basically, like plays dress up with it, makes it wear these like silly costumes and do little tricks. Again, like a pet, more like a hamster than a dog or cat. But this particular human learns has some higher learning because its owner really likes it, like beyond just a plaything. Because you see the other children kind of tire of their humans. They're like, man, I've grown up. I've discovered boobies, and man, and this child. Well, that is true of this child as well. He's like, oh, but I still like my little human toy. So I think she's kind of coded as a she. She allows the human to also use her like learning headband, so that this human is able to escape. And I'm basically telling you the whole movie at this point, so I'll stop. But for Durazzle, I've been reading Battlefield Earth by L. Ron Hubbard because we're watching the movie Battlefield Earth, based on the book, obviously. And as I'm reading it, I'm like, there's some similarities between this book and the movie I watched forever ago called Fantastic Planet. And then I rewatched the movie, and I'm like, yep, that's still true. I'm not saying that L. Ron Hubbard swiped some ideas from Fantastic Planet. I mean, the movie came out in '73, and his book came out in 1980. But they're not similar enough that I would say, like, yeah, no, for sure that's definitely stolen. But there's definitely some ideas that I'm like, he may have been, I'm going to say, quote unquote, inspired by these. What's that? Oh, gosh. Okay, so we're like, got this this part done and this part more or less done. So I just have this last part to draw for today, and then I'm gonna be done.
if anyone knows a better way to do this, to transfer your sketch to a more final form, please don't hesitate to tell me.
It's very time consuming.
I picked up a digital art pad not too long ago. I decided I wanted to finish this because I already started this comic
before I jumped into that and learned how to do that.
And I futzed with it because it's a new toy. I'm going to play with it a little bit. It was a cheaper one, but not super cheap. I couldn't afford the whatever Apple's version of that is for that comes with like Procreate. And maybe I'm looking at this the wrong way, but there's two thoughts when it comes to shooting digital film, right? You have the people that are trying to recreate the look of digital so that it looks like film, it looks like celluloid, which is the majority of people and where I fall. And then you have this other group of people that want digital to look like what it is, which is digital.
I don't personally like that, but that's also kind of where I come from when talking about drawing. I want what I'm drawing digitally on this
tablet to look as close to hand-drawn as possible. I have not been able to figure out how to do that on my tablet. I don't know if it's like a settings thing or a skill thing, but I'm not going to be happy until I do. But with the podcast kind of taking up my spoons, my energy, probably not going to get to futz with that for a minute.
Gosh. So after I do the whole thing, after I transfer the sketch to the cardstock, then I'll go over it in the soft pencil and then finally ink it with micron markers. And then I gotta be honest, I don't really know what to do after that. I assume scan it.
But I've never made it that far. Damn it. I would love to write KnifeBricker comics
more frequently. The ideas come pretty easy for KnifeBricker. I'd love to
do another short film or even a feature. But as far as
a comic goes, like clearly, it takes me a minute to get them finished.
And finding an artist to collaborate with can be pretty difficult. Well, not difficult to find one to collaborate with. Finding one that will
finish what they start drawing, that's difficult.
As far as like doing another short film, I mean, the script is written. It's out there. It would just be a matter of getting funding and pretty much just funding. Scott lives in Portland, so
we need to find some monies to get him over here.
We'd need to find some monies so that I could take some time off of work. Not that I probably could work around that. Just because KnifeBricker tends to be a shorter thing. I mean, if it was a feature, yeah, I would absolutely need to like find some income in that.
But if it's a short film, like we did with the first one,
where we wrote it on the weekend, it was like a Saturday, Sunday, we like wrote it on the weekend. We like called up the actors that we wanted to work with. We're like, "Hi, you free to do this this weekend?" Then we gathered the
props and the costumes and rehearsed it a little bit,
and then we shot it the following weekend. If we do it like that, that's doable. But
what am I looking at? Oh, I see.
Those are feats. For those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, KnifeBricker was a short film that the film company that I co-created with a good friend Scott
called Ramming Speed Pictures. It was like our third or fourth project. I can't remember. I think it's the second narrative project, but like the fourth project altogether, all over. Or I'm lying. Don't even listen to me. What are you doing here?
But we wanted the challenge of we were calling it at the time like a fire drill. What it would be like for us to get our stuff together and going with almost no time at all. And we did. We made the goofy
short film KnifeBricker. Oh, this man's bald.
Which, at least among our friends, is
a favorite, which is kind of weird because it's the movie. It's a project that I've put the like least amount of time into and thought into,
And people are like, that's super cool, do more of that. I'm like, but what about this movie? I took like 4 years of my life to work on. I'm like, no, more KnifeBricker. That's funny. It's got the sausage jokes.
Okay, I'm getting close. Got to draw a little bit around here, a little bit of this, and this woman here. And then I think
Both Bushy and I are gonna get something to eat. I'm also pretty hungry. I don't know if it's true or not. I may have already said this before, but I've heard that some European countries have like a stipend for artists, and I would love to know what that feels like.
to know, like, oh, my job is to do the art thing that I want to do anyway. Oh, that's a butt. I've been drawing a butt and I didn't know it.
There we go. I can make it more voluptuous.
I imagine it would be something like undergrad was, where you're spending your time working on projects, except for you. I mean, you still had to go to class in undergrad. You should have anyway. And then after class on the weekends, that's when you would work on your projects. But you had at least the supplies available to you in undergrad. Like you had the space, you had the prop closet, the costume loft, if you knew the right people. You had lights, but most importantly, you had actors and quality actors. Um, there, my
One friend Nate
used to just like pack on the shows. Like every semester, he would do like 4 or 5 shows, which
that's so much, and he's in general he's a multi-talented fellow, but at school he was both a performer and a tech, uh, and a designer. And I'm like, man, how many projects you do this summer or this semester? Like 4 or 5. And Nate's secretly Kermit the Frog, which we all know that. Geez, I think just from the one show that we did for my senior project, Saving Alice.
what in the hell? Right.
Um, just for that alone, he was the lead, so he was the lead actor. And then I want to say he did lighting for it as well.
At least the design for it. He didn't, obviously he couldn't run it well, you know.
On stage. I miss the theater.
Okay, that side done. So we just got this right here to take care of. Let's stretch my back for a second. Oh boy. You don't say.
Where did I leave off?
At some point, so like within the context of the story, this is an orgy, but me being a non-participant of an orgy, I don't really know what they look like. And you know what? When you try to find them online, you find some stuff, but not what I imagine a real orgy would look like. And while I am a dedicated artist,
Going and observing an orgy was not something I had any interest in doing. Because COVID. So I know at some point someone's going to look at this and say, like, that's not what they look like. And I'm like, shut up. Maybe that's how mine look. The orgies I throw every weekend with KnifeBricker. There's some I was like instruments in use in this panel that I don't even know what they do.
It's I don't know if you can really see it. It's just like a little thing down here. It looks like a child's toy, but
I hope it's not. It's got like a string with
like a cord and like 2 balls on the end.
maybe I'm just not thinking creatively enough.
My mom sent me a couple pictures from this page that she follows. That's like, look at us. We're all from the same small town. Look at all the things that we remember. Nostalgia, nostalgia, nostalgia.
And like most of it I can relate to, but some of it's older, and I got out of there as quickly as I possibly could.
But she sent me
this picture of my junior high school, specifically the auditorium, and the junior high is no longer there. Or I think it is there, but it's not.
Sure, no, come back. It's not high school. It's not junior high.
So there are these pictures of the auditorium that I spent so much time in, and oh boy, what a big old kick to the nostalgia that was. Because not only was that like I was in theater in junior high and ever since. It's like I was in an auditorium a lot. And then that was also where I got like my first kiss. Like wee little 9th grader me got his like first smooch in the balcony. So like I'm looking at this picture, I'm like, oh, that's where we had the book fair. And that's where I performed in the first script that I had written. And that's where I like cried at our graduation. But then also that's the balcony where I had my first kiss. And I was like, I remember, I was like, oh man, is that all kissing is? That's kind of, I was expecting a little bit more. But little did I know, life's full of disappointments. I kid.
Bushy, I know. I'm sorry. Give me like not even 10 minutes and I'll be ready. I don't know if you can hear her bell, but she's growing impatient. It's a half hour past her salmon time. What is this? This is... God damn it.
There's been a couple of weird little nostalgia, not incidents, but things pop up lately. Not bad. But I've been talking to this artist who makes these like dope ass bookmarks. I want to say glittery shenanigans on Instagram. And she and I were in the same art class in 8th grade, maybe? Or was that? No, that's not true because she went to a different junior high. So it would have been 10th or 11th grade. And like, man, I like pretty much any art class in school was my favorite class because I'm like, oh, I can do the thing and pretend I'm not in this undying hell.
Ah, that's some butt. Like really broke the pencil that time. Okay. Uh-oh. It appears I am out of mud. Shit. I guess I'll just use for this like last.
Literally have like almost nothing left to do with it. Just use the pencil. Just be very gentle with it. But we were both in the same art class, and we're both super shy and probably said like all 4 words at that time to each other. Just like diligently drew while everybody else was not doing that, I guess. Oh, shit, I forgot to draw the guy's hand. How's he supposed to orgy without his hand? But I was talking to her earlier, and like I still have the perfect attendance pins that they handed out at my junior high. They looked like these little like knights shields with like green and white, which our school colors, and then the K for the name of the school. I still have them. I found them the other day while I was cleaning them. I don't know why that was something that I felt I needed to hang on to. It's not like I have I have neither like unfond memories or fond memories of junior high. I have a little bit of both. Right. I forgot I'm trying Frida Kahlo. I just thought that looked neat. All right, looks like we're about done for today. Thanks for hanging out and listening to me ramble about movies and shit. Movies and
Life things.
Hope they'll. Oh, so the only thing that's missing for the
Durazzle podcast is the theme. And then once we have the theme, I'll have two full episodes. And honestly, by the time we get the theme, we'll probably have 3 full episodes to ship out to Yins. But yeah, I'll be here next time to finish up the logo. All right, bye.